This video has been classified as PG. Parental guidance is recommended for people under 15 years.
This is a Gruen Planet, a show about advertisers, the people whose job is getting inside our heads and redesigning our brains. We'll meet our panel in a moment, but first it's Pinktober. In Iceland, a country which has the 6th highest global rate of breast cancer, supporters have found a new way to grab public attention. Screw you, AC/DC, that's the highway to help. There must be a raising awareness of testicular cancer outside my house because someone's drawn a big cock and balls on the street. Other parts of Pinktober are less touching. In America, you can now buy cancer awareness pepper spray, presumably to fight off killers coming at you with their cancer awareness kitchen knives. The pepper spray also comes in a handily disguised lipstick model. Yeah, nothing could go wrong there. But at least it'll match your cancer awareness taser. And I swear, we're not making any of this up. Your cancer awareness semi-automatic. Closer to home, Pinktober has brought us controversial billboards for a bra campaign. Bonds, a gold partner of the National Breast Cancer Foundation, wants us to know it's for boobs. I wasn't aware anyone was against them. If social media is any indication, many Australians are now at least thinking of bonds differently. Must be the same people from my street. But if some of us are a bit uncomfortable talking about breasts, we can all be certain of one thing: the French aren't and never will be. Here's an ad from earlier this year that proves it. Oh, do you know what that boat was? The Titanic. Gruen Planet, educating our future leaders. Time to meet the panel from Leo Burnett, Todd Sampson, and from Network 10, Russell Halcroft. They're joined by Pulse Marketing MD Lauren Freed and self-described marketing bloke and occasional propagandist Toby Ralph. Welcome. Tonight, a subject close to my heart and my liver: beer.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
Now, that's stuck in your head for the rest of the night. We'll get to Lionel in a minute, but first a couple of important background stats. Beer consumption in Australia is currently at a 66-year low.
Hello?
Hello? A 66-year low. According to... Strap yourself in. According to IBIS, consumption has fallen during the past decade by 15%. For the industry, that's a blow.
Hello?
Not yet, Lionel, not yet. Premium beer, craft beer, cider, all of them are eating into the profits of the big beers, into their cash flow.
Hello?
You'll get your turn. We'll get to the Tap King in a minute, but first we've got to go back to the future.
When I was 16, Dad gave me the first paddock. Rather than give me a push bike, he just said, if you want to do this, It's about time you had a crack. And 30 odd years later, being one of just the 3 grain farmers around Australia chosen to grow barley for Crown Lager is really exciting. And when you look at a silo and you go, well, yeah, a lot of people are going to enjoy that. There's nothing more unique. The finest barley makes the finest beer.
When I was 16, my dad gave me a paddock instead of a push bike, and I've been drinking heavily since that moment. What is that ad? It's like a Jack Daniels ad. Black and white, not in any hurry. We make it by hand, and making it by hand takes time. Todd, how will that make us thirsty?
When you think of beer advertising, it's broken up into segments and targeted to different markets like independence, status, mateship. And those states are chosen based on trends. And alcohol is one of the most interesting trended occasions, namely because when the trend shifts with drinking, the entire market shifts, which is quite interesting. And in this case, the shift and what they're capturing is to premium. It's less about quantity drunk and more about quality drunk. And so we drink less, but we pay more.
Yeah, good beer advertising has always done ingredients. So you go back 50 years ago, there'll be ingredients ads about a Czechoslovakian beer or a Heineken beer or Stella Artois. There's always been an underpinning of ingredients. Occasionally what happens is the ad market gets excited about another direction, but it will always get back to the ingredients because it's ingredients which gives the product integrity. And the brewers know that if they don't reinforce this is a quality drink, that over time they will erode their sales. So it's one of the important ingredients to good beer marketing. Let's say every 7 years. Now, every 7 years we'll reinforce the storyline, and we'll reinforce the storyline around our hops, our yeast, our barley, our water, so people go, oh my God, it's worth every cent.
What we're doing now is, though, we're overlaying it with the farmer, which is what Woolworths and McDonald's have done for the last 5 or so years, where they've gone, this is the origin of the produce, and that's pulled at the heartstrings of the female grocery buyer that's making the decisions in and out of the home. So I understand the use of produce, but in this instance, they're also trying to give some personality to the brand by introducing the farmer, and that's just not really going to pull the heartstrings of a beer drinker.
The other thing that this is doing, of course, we've got 2 big brewers who produce 90% of the beer in Australia. Beer's losing share, so they're losing money. They've got to make more money, they've got to have more expensive brands. That's what this is all about. So the blokes in the stadium might be drinking VB, but the corporate bogans sculling crownies.
Yeah, and this is a awesome product for that very reason, because it's a mass market premium beer.
Ever since the big ad, beer commercials have been a big budget, over-the-top fantasies, hymns to Aussie mateship. Remember the tongue? Flash beer? The street party, the beer chase. The one thing they never talked about was the product itself. Russell, why?
Well, because there is a reality to like the ad, like the brand, buy the brand. And this notion, if you like, you drink the advertising and you drink the best joke, that's still true. It's just off trend at the moment. It'll come back. It'll come back because someone out there in the beer world will create something that's brilliant. We all remember when we first saw the big ad. I mean, I relate to the big ad too. Most people remember where they were when Princess Diana was in that car accident, right? I remember where I was when I first saw that beer ad. Oh my God! I can remember exactly where I was.
I just love the idea of you being on your deathbed and the only thing flashing in past your eyes is that big ad.
As a colleague of mine sent me a note saying, right, that's it, I give up. Because that ad it is a brilliant commercial.
This is tribalism. The truth is, with the lower end brands, blokes drink to get pissed. And, they'll drink and they'll drink because they think they can sing. They'll drink because they think it automatically makes them attractive to women.
Well, they can cuddle each other.
They can cuddle each other. They'll believe that kebabs are a genuine food group. That's what they're all about. Yeah. But that trend is waning now.
Something's changed lately. Here's the new ad for Han Super Dry.
Tastes super dry.
Tastes super dry.
But it's also super wet.
How do they do it? Good question. Right back at the brewing stage, we brew Han Super Dry for just that bit longer, giving it its trademark super dry taste. And as for the super wetness, well, it's a beer.
Yeah, makes sense.
Wow, that ad is super shit. Not long ago, Hahn was making prank ads about comical cruelty to beautiful women. Now it lectures us about brewing techniques. There are more than 100 local craft beers. Genuine appreciation of beer is growing. Lauren, is Hahn trying to cash in on that trend?
Yeah, I think that what they're not a craft beer and they recognise they're not a craft beer. So really what they've done in this ad is they've been consistent to show men as being unintelligent creatures throughout all their creative. But what they've actually done here is taken the time message, which is one of craft beer, and just wrapped it up in the standard traditional beer advertising, which is guys in a pub hanging out.
Yeah, is it a mishmash, Russell?
Yeah, well, I mean, someone will try and own the brewery or someone will try and own the process of making beer. And that's what Hahn's trying to do here. It's like, you know, the latest Cadbury stuff. We're in the chocolate factory and we're trying to sort of put joy, you know, we're producing joy. So it's not a new idea to try and own the place where this product is built. It's just got a different style of doing it.
It's not just craft beer, wine is closing the gap too. According to the Bureau of Stats, we drink 331 beers a year and 304 glasses of wine. Cab Sav and Chardonnay advertise, but not anything like the scale of beer. Toby, how scared would beer be of wine getting its act together?
I don't think they are. Beer is losing share of mouth but gaining share of wallet, so it's making more money for shrinking volume. Wine's got the opposite problem. And they also are different occasion drinks. You know, the wine's got 26%, beer's got 37%. But you can't imagine a brickie with a hard-earned thirst going back and having a crisp Balhana Sauv Blanc.
Yeah, but it's a very trend-sensitive industry, and one of the biggest trends hitting that market is in-home consumption. And they say now up to 70% of alcohol is consumed at home, and this is where wine works really, really well. And the second thing that it taps into, the two words that almost single-handedly have taken down the beer industry is beer gut. And wine doesn't have that. You know, it's a big health issue, and you can see the run to lighter beers, and there's no wine gut or spirits gut, it's beer gut. And
you just made that up. I think you...
Are you as Russell sits back.
Meanwhile, Crown and Hahn are not the only ones looking backwards.
There's two things that define a man. His left hand and his right. Take a look at yours. They look familiar, don't they? What have they done lately? Where are the clues? Every scar is a memory. Each callus a job done. Because when it's handmade, it's made well. Hand cut, hand polished, and then handed down. You can lend one, give one, raise one, be hands-on. Get them dirty. Yep, you can tell a lot about a man by his hands.
My hands are very soft. It's only a few years ago they were doing the high concept grand parade. Now the theme tune is back. The hard-earned thirst is back. The smell of working bloke is back. Russ, you used to have the VB account. Why are they back in the 1970s?
Well, because they finally worked out, if you like, that they had to get back to the 1970s. Importantly, VB changed its alcohol level. It went from 4.9 to 4.6. It went back to 4.9 and launched with this campaign. I mean, VB advertising is like it's like an AC/DC album. Yeah, so every year AC/DC comes out with an album. It's using the same three chords in different order, and every single song has got the word rock in it. Yeah. And it doesn't matter if AC/DC comes out with a different album that's awesome music, but it doesn't use the formula. No one will buy it. And so that's all that's really happened is VB's just gone back to the formula. They know that this was going to work for them, and it has worked extremely well for them. They've got growth for the first time in years.
And you have to go back to, in a dream landscape as a marketer and advertiser, you need to find those brand assets that stand the test of time. That voiceover, the music, the imagery that they use is so VB. I love that advertising. I think it's fantastic, and it's not targeting me.
Yeah, I mean...
Or me. Like, I sit at home going, I could pay someone to do those things.
Yeah, the traditional great strength of VB was, as they said, it was drunk in first class, business class, and economy, and that's.
But all by Booney, piss walking.
they'll know they're really successful when they get back to that. And I think it's possible by actually, this reward for effort is ultimately what it's all about. So whether you're in first class, business class or economy, you will reward yourself for the effort that you put in during that day.
VB's owned by Foster's, which is owned by SAB Miller. All these iconic beers are actually South African now. And these ones are owned by Lion, which is owned by Kirin, so technically they're all Japanese. As premium foreign beers, you think they'd be selling better. Anyway, 6 little Lion beers have joined together on one new project. Lionel, your moment has arrived.
'Cause you know just what to say, and you know just what to do, and I want to tell you so much. I love you.
Hey, honey, did you leave this Lionel Richie in the fridge? I think he's gone off. I love this idea. Your own fridge keg. Lauren, what's that about?
I think it's extraordinarily clever. Firstly, with using Lionel Richie, I think it's got extreme cut through, and I love Lionel. And secondly, it's what they're doing is taking this premium experience of being in the pub and having a beer in a glass versus what happens at home where it's out of a bottle. So I think they're being very clever in taking a premium product and replacing it in the home with a premium product.
This is just fantastic, though. The ad itself is brilliant because they could easily have just had, someone opens up the fridge, honey, what's that in the fridge now? Oh, it's my new Tap King. I mean, because that's pretty much the sort of advertising we get in the main. So for the creative team to say, we're going to get Lionel Richie, he's going to be in the fridge, he's going to be singing hello.
I reckon they're about 6 kegs into the meeting.
Yeah, absolutely. But then even better for the client to say, that's an awesome idea, let's get him, and we're going to make that piece of advertising, we're going to have that bit of innovation, we're going to actually create advertising that we all enjoy. Good luck to them, I hope it smashes it.
This is actually perfect advertising because it's targeting those baby boomers who liked Lionel Richie back then and are now drinking at home.
What this the creative in this ad has delivered is it's sort of softened the market. So if you say to your wife, I'm going to bring a keg of beer home, she's likely going to say, I don't think you're going to. Yeah. So this has sort of softened it in. They've used Lionel Richie. It's a beautiful ad. So the wife is now educated on it. You bring the keg home, sure.
The other recent brewing trend is pop star beers. 80s legends Madness recently launched Gladness Lager. Feel like they've been getting high on their own supply. 90s group Hanson have just released a brew called Hops. I think Coles is missing an opportunity to bring us Nye Ale, the beer that goes in one direction, down, down. But of course, if beer companies really want to know how to make a splash, they need to ask only one question. What would Kim Jong-un do? North Korea's resident jailer do to get his public's attention? He'd do what he did in July and hold a parade to celebrate the 60th anniversary of winning the Korean War. Even though at best that was a draw. The parade included horse riding, kooky marching, tanks, missiles, and my favourite, giant golden statues of his father and grandfather. Yeah, that's not a big ad. This is a big ad. Gruen Planet, be curious. Now the pitch where we challenge ad agencies to convince us to do something we're never gonna do. Anyone who lives in urban Australia knows we're a nation of coffee snobs and addicts. People who can't walk into the office without a takeaway in one hand, who spend more on home coffee machines than we do on fridges and tallies. Tonight, we've asked 2 agencies to convince us, on behalf of the tea industry, to forgo the flat white, to banish the bean. Can they do it? Please welcome from Com1, Cos Luchetti, and from Sprout, Anya Lorimer. Welcome. All right, Cos, how did you knock the froth off this one?
Well, I guess for us, we really wanted to appeal to our national sense of pride, in particular, our sporting sense of pride.
Let's have a look.
Australians love their sport. We also love our coffee. Has our love of coffee come at a cost? Our cricketers spend more time drinking cappuccinos than they do out in the middle.
Yeah, coffee gives Lee the runs. They're the only runs you're getting.
Our wallabies can score a flat white, yet they can't score a bloody try. Grab a coffee, mate? Our swimmers stay up all night drinking double espressos, but they're sound asleep in the water. I'm sleepy. But the British love their tea, and they're sipping the sweet taste of success. Coffee drinking has stained our sporting culture, and we've become a joke.
Get serious, Australia. It's tea time.
Winning, it's in the bag.
All right. Anya, did you have to put the kettle on?
We took a really serious approach to this one after we found out what actually went into making just one cup of coffee.
Oh, let's have a look.
Water is our most precious resource. Millions live in slums where the water is unsafe for drinking, cooking or cleaning. They suffer illness and death from unsanitary water. Many are without an adequate water supply for even their most basic needs. Yet it takes 140 litres of water to produce just one cup of coffee. So, is coffee still your cup of tea?
All right. Panel, Russell, which of those two executions did you prefer?
I did love the end line, it's in the bag for number one, but if we're after behaviour change, facts always work, so number two, I thought it was terrific.
Lauren?
Number 2 is where I'm going to put my vote tonight. It just really would make me change my behaviour.
Toby?
I also like the end line in number 1, but number 2 wins. Well done, Darwin.
And last but not least?
Yeah, from someone who's never tasted a coffee, I'm going with number 2.
Well, congratulations to you both, but number 2 it is. Thank you. Well done, Anya. That's how our panel saw it. You can have your say on Twitter and Facebook, or cut back your caffeine intake and realise you don't have to tell everybody everything every minute of your life. So sorry, I'm grumpy. I haven't had a coffee for an hour. Gruen Planet, innovation that excites. This is Spin Cycle, where we count down some of our favourite recent attempts at publicity grabbing. At number 3, X Factor judge Red Foo for taking cross-promotion to a whole new level of cheese. The former Hair Bear Bunch member, Google it, you'll enjoy it, launched new video clip Let's Get Ridiculous this week. On Monday's show, he snuck this plug in early.
My girls tonight are gonna kill. I don't have any girls. This is ridiculous.
Ha ha, nice one, Red Foo, subtle. Then, during the manufactured tension of the interminable judging, he squeezed in another.
I gotta go with my gut, my crazy gut, my ridiculous.
I can tell you who won, but I don't care. Ridiculous! At number 2, Beardvertising, a US web agency that pays beardy men up to $5 a day to wear tiny billboards in their chin growth. Finally, a way to tap into the lucrative Amish market. And at number 1, a New York real estate company, Rapid Realty, for offering 15% pay rises to employees who agree to get a tattoo of the company logo.
There are no size or location restrictions. Brooke Koropatnik got hers behind the ear.
I had a paycheck coming in that was a substantial amount of money difference, so it was nice.
Oh, it was nice. What's that on your neck, mummy? Oh, that's your college education. The company pays for the ink, and more than 40 employees have gone under the needle, apparently adding thousands of dollars to their income. All this got me was an itchy rash and hepatitis A, B and C. We've talked about beer already, so let's switch to a more sobering topic. 6 months ago, more than 1,100 Bangladeshi workers lost their lives when the Rana Plaza clothing factory collapsed.
Emergency crews are working to pull out survivors from under the rubble of the 8-storey building. Some staff had complained of cracks in the building, triggering a temporary evacuation yesterday, before workers were forced back to the production line by their managers. Building collapses are common in Bangladesh, where developers often flout the official construction code.
Many Australian brands sell clothing made in Bangladesh, and many trumpet their low prices. Among others, Target does it.
Get more, pay less at Target.
And so does Big W.
Australia's lowest prices. Cha-ching!
Here's the recent Kmart campaign.
I'm the cat with the bass and drum going around like bum bum bum.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, got it locked all over the nations. Stay fresh, keep a lace in my basics. Better hit it off, got these other people gazing. Fresh threads and I sure look amazing.
Russell, don't the endless ads playing on our love of low prices sometimes blind us to the fact that low prices can have terrible consequences?
Yeah, there's two big things going on. The first is that the Australian consumer, we've been trained since birth to buy on price. So when we're in the car, we drive past a petrol station and the petrol station actually advertises the price right there on the corner, day in, day out. Every week there'll be a catalogue in our letterbox, which again is asking us to buy on price. And then, of course, we've got the globalisation trend and the idea that actually countries get a niche. So we've got a country here in Bangladesh that's getting a niche around manufacturing of clothing. That's how they get their GDP to a point that hopefully they can get people into maybe the middle class. And you have us here in our middle class glory happily buying on price.
Yeah, the thing with sweatshops is sweatshops certainly do say a lot about corporate greed and the need for profit, but they also say a lot about us. It's also a very good mirror on our own consumption, because we want it all. We want it fast, high quality, we want it cheap, and it's very easy to disassociate that and say it's completely a corporate issue. It's not the case. It mirrors our consumption.
Consumers wanting cheaper prices is about as new as herpes. The advertising doesn't create that need, it reflects it. It's like blaming advertising for doing that is like blaming the mirror for you being fat.
It is hard to swallow for anyone, for the manufacturers or for consumers, that saving $5 on that T-shirt could be taking 10 years off someone's life in another part of the world because of horrific working conditions.
Yeah, it's interesting. We are in this sort of world now where it is all about price. It's price, which is, of course, has to be driven down continuously. So if the price has got to the point where it's $5 for a T-shirt, well, it's got to be made for a whole lot less than $5 in order for you to buy it. Now, what we don't do, of course, is we don't make that equation in our heads when we get to the store. We just go, oh my God, it's $5.
How do brands handle a news story like the Rana collapse? In the 48 hours afterwards, only 2 of the 30 brands using the factory admitted it. Canadian company Joe Fresh and Irish outfit Primark. Another, Benetton, initially claimed no involvement and may have genuinely believed that, but its clothes turned up in the rubble. Serious but ugly hypothetical. Todd, for a brand, is it more damaging to risk the lives of third world workers or to lie about it?
The more damaging thing for the brand itself is to lie about it, because then it moves from just purely corporate greed to some kind of evil intent. And so I think it's never a good strategy from a PR perspective for any company to lie.
No, because a lie is, if you like, you knowingly lie. You don't knowingly think you're about to cause, harm to some people that are working in Bangladesh.
Yeah, but then the companies have an obligation to force those companies to have better working conditions.
They do, but Primark, for example, who are Irish retailers, were having products manufactured in the Rama Plaza. They were picketed at their flagship marble art store, but 2 months afterwards, because they had a new $4 bikini, their sales were up 22%. People care more about prices than they do about dead workers.
Bangladesh is now the second biggest clothes exporter in the world, behind only China. A few weeks after the Rana collapse, a Four Corners report named Cotton On, Forever New, Coles, Rivers, Target and Big W as just some of the Australian companies manufacturing in that country. All refused to be interviewed for the program. Now, Lauren, would those companies have talked to each other when Four Corners came a-ringing?
I think that this is such a disturbing story of such a great magnitude. None of these businesses would have had to deal with something like this before. None of them are going to put their hands up. They're not going to come forward as a whole industry either and say, yeah, we've got it wrong. It's simply not going to happen.
Yeah, they're fierce competitors, Will. There's no chance that they would be colluding on strategy. In fact, you could imagine some of them sitting back hoping someone does come forward, because it makes it much easier for the industry if there's one punching bag. And someone could make that mistake.
The other thing is, it's extremely difficult to explain the argument, explain the process. And there may well be a really sound argument, but it's highly unlikely that you're going to leave the conversation with the media, because the media, of course, wants something simple and quick, and they want to either kill or be killed.
It's also finding out who's to blame. I mean, is it the Bangladesh government for not putting higher wages? Is it the brands that put it in? Is it us because we bought it? Or is it faces like Miranda Kerr of the brand, who is the face of Mango, who's earning millions of dollars a year when these workers are earning $36 a month? I mean, where does the responsibility lie?
Well, hypocrisy begins at home, doesn't it? Look at me. I'm wearing this is from China. My jeans are from probably Sri Lanka. My boots were stitched in Turkey. My iPhone here was made in some sweatshop in China. I've got a hip pocket hypocrisy when it comes to this stuff. I'm quite happy to do it and quite happy to wear it. Going back to the issue before,
You said that like you were really happy about that.
Yeah.
My clothes are from ABC Wardrobe.
Maybe what we should do is we should tag clothes that are made overseas, and we know they're made overseas, with a URL, and allow people to go online and have 24-hour surveillance of a factory so you can actually see where it was made.
And to know that I choose to buy this rug and I know it's made by a 7-year-old in Cairo.
And you can see
and
it.
I make a decision as a consumer that I'm okay with that.
Since Rana, Oxfam has pushed companies to sign a fire and safety accord, a code of minimum building standards for contractors. Those who've signed up include Kmart, Target, Big W, Cotton On and Forever New. Of those who haven't, it's Rivers that stands out. It didn't respond to Four Corners. It doesn't have a head office number in the white pages or a social media presence. At the other extreme, Kmart went on the PR front foot, sending out MD Guy Russo to stress the company was helping to lift workers in the third world out of poverty. Here he is on ABC Breakfast.
So what are the minimum standards that were put in place?
Most importantly, they're obviously got to pay minimum wage, and make sure that the working conditions...
Is it, just to interrupt there, is it just the minimum wage that's paid?
Minimum wage, working conditions, fire exits are easy to find and move on.
Guy Russo, the minimum wage in Bangladesh is $38 a month.
Yes.
If the people making your clothing are being paid $38 a month and that's acceptable to you, then I think you have a perspective problem.
Clearly, that was not much fun for him. Lauren, would you ever send a CEO out to be a whipping boy of the press to get his lumps?
It's not ideal, and you try to avoid it. In this instance, it's a highly emotive topic, so you really need to think outside of what is your normal issues management. I think that what they addressed by talking is that Kmart showed that they were trying to create some change.
Yeah, I think you chose the wrong media outlet. I think that there are some lazy journalists that front news shows, and you can get away with controlling your message with them because they won't push you very hard. Virginia's not one of those, and clearly she had a non-auto cue moment where she got to flex her journalistic muscles, and she did her homework. And I know Guy Russo, and he's actually a pretty good person, and he handled it. He stayed cool under pressure. But don't go public unless you have the answer to those questions.
I really admire Guy Russo for doing this. I think it's a ballsy move, and I think it's actually the way CEOs ought to behave. He's experimenting with truth, and he's standing up for what he's done and what he believes. And I applaud him for it. He's facing Virginia Trioli, and there's Sarah Ferguson at Four Corners, and two rules for dealing with those two. And the first thing is take a change of undies, and the second is don't smile. He fronted up, and that was a tough, impressive thing to do.
Gruen Planet, one spray, 101 uses. That's all we have time for tonight. Please thank our panel, Russell, Lauren, Toby and Todd. We'll leave you with the latest contender for worst celebrity endorsement of all time. The winner will get 1 week of not having to hand over its lunch money in the playground and the smug satisfaction of owning TV's only credible award, the Brown Logie. Tonight we visit Japan, a place where thanks to language and cultural differences, you can make ads with the safety of knowing they'll never be used anywhere else. Our favourite holidaying star is Nicolas Cage, who has channeled his personal madness into a series of pachinko parlour ads, each one more overacted than the last. To be fair to Nick, they're so terrible, they probably belong in the best celebrity endorsements of all time. We'll see you next week.
さん、日本の印象は？
I love all of Japan. I love sushi. I love Mount Fuji.
私は日本のすべてが好きです。寿司、富士山、全部好きです。
他にお好きなものはありますか？
I love